Well, there's a jolly fat man. Does that make you happy?
Totally different Christmas.
Totally.
It's a ha-ha holiday. Christmas Day on USA. Starting at 2, 1 Central.
Well, hello and welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to this special edition of the 700 Club for Christmas Eve.
And I hope you're not still running around doing all your Christmas shopping. I hope you can sit back and enjoy the holiday features and music coming up.
And on today, we've got 3 thrilling stories of true Christmas miracles, including the story of a lame woman who rose and walked on Christmas Eve.
We've gathered together a whole bunch of stories we know you're going to love. So why don't you gather the family around and call a friend to watch as we celebrate the real reason for the season.
And some of these programs came from exciting stories on previous 700 Club broadcasts and other things during the year. So I think it'll be a blessing to you. But first, here's a brief report from our CBN News Desk.
The U.S. is ready to recognize the official demise of the Soviet Union. But the Supreme Soviet isn't. Paul Strand has more.
The Supreme Soviet was supposed to meet for one last time today to pass a resolution recognizing the USSR has ceased to exist. But like legislators everywhere, they had trouble committing. They refused to vote on the resolution wiping out their nation and agreed to try again in a week or so. Soviet President Mikhail Gorbachev appears ready to give up his now useless title. Officials say he'll go on television Christmas Day to announce his resignation. But Georgia's embattled president is refusing to do the same. Fighting still goes on around his parliament building, with rebel forces demanding he step down because he's turned dictatorial. At least 26 Georgians have died in the fighting. Outside the borders of what was the USSR, both the U.S. and European community are ready to recognize Russia and at least several other new nations of the Commonwealth. And the U.S. will back Russia, taking over the Soviet seat on the UN Security Council. Paul Strand, CBN News.
America's hostage saga is reaching a somber conclusion. Lebanese terrorists will reportedly hand over the body of William Buckley, the CIA's Beirut chief who died while being held hostage. And the body of Marine Lieutenant Colonel William Higgins is arriving back in the U.S. today. Higgins was abducted in 1988 while serving as a UN observer in Lebanon. His kidnappers killed him in 1989. Mrs. Higgins will receive her husband's body on her birthday and what would have been the Higgins' 14th anniversary. The American people are feeling worse about the economy than just about at any other time. A new ABC Money magazine poll shows 93% say the economy is not good or poor, and that's a record breaker on the pessimism scale. 52% say they're in personal financial trouble. Meanwhile, anxious retailers are waiting to see if last-minute Christmas shoppers will make up for a generally sluggish season. That's all from the news desk. I'm Linda Freeman. Pat, back to you.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, each year about this time, many of us begin to complain about the over-commercialization of the Christmas season. But we're still spending money in record amounts, maybe $42 billion this Christmas. While we can't do much about the commercialization, we can redouble our efforts to focus on what the holidays are all about. Scott Hatch reports.
In the beginning, God created the heaven and the earth. And the earth was without form and void, and darkness was upon the face of the deep.
It was one of those rare images that will always remain with anyone who witnessed it. The crew of Apollo 8 aboard the first spacecraft to break the bonds of Earth, circling the moon and reading the opening verses of the book of Genesis.
And from the crew of Apollo 8, a Merry Christmas, and God bless all of you on the good earth.
Christmas. The mere mention of the word conjures up the lofty attributes of goodwill, brotherly love, and charity, things we all look for in one another. But the season also brings with it a downside: greed, materialism, and envy, the attributes we too often find in our fellow man. Our society appears mired in a quicksand of commercialism, and each year we seem to be sinking deeper and deeper.
It all comes down to money. Christmas has kind of become the season of giving anyways. In order to give, you're going to have to buy it.
You have to spend a lot of money just to buy all the presents for everyone.
It's become too dependent on money and gifts, and I think people have lost the whole reason of what it's all about.
So what is Christmas all about? That depends largely on who you ask.
Our economy depends on it to a great deal, especially certain industries. For example, in the retail industry, the Christmas season is critical.
Martin Lefkowitz of the U.S. Chamber of Commerce.
Some stores will have as much as half of their profits come from the Christmas selling season. In terms of sales, they'll sell about 3 times as much, let's say, in December than they will in a normal month, some of the department stores.
Americans are expected to spend about $42 billion this year for Christmas-related items like presents and trees and lights. It is big money. And where there is big money, there is big competition. Shopping malls have become modern-day arenas where the battle for the consumer dollar is heated. As much as a third of the yearly budget at these malls is dedicated to the Christmas season. Scott Sampson is Director of Marketing at Washington, D.C.'s splashy new Pentagon City Fashion Center, one of the finest malls in the nation.
There's just more and more shopping malls now. So you have to find your niche, or you have to be a little more outstanding than the other, whether it be through a new decor program or, once again, the selection of stores.
Bigger and better. Competition, outselling the rest. Like it or not, it is a part of the American Christmas, and it goes on everywhere. The Chicago Tribune wrote, "Never in the history of the Chicago Post Office did such a throng of people pass in and out of its doors as yesterday. But all was dispatched and delivered thanks to extra personnel working 16 hours a day." By the way, that article appeared on December the 24th, 1888.
Oh, there's no place like home for the holidays.
It was much easier, though, once upon a time. In the 1700s and 1800s, there was less emphasis placed on gifts. That allowed more time to celebrate the gathering of friends and family. But very slowly, more and more trappings were added to the Christmas season. For those early Americans, decorations, for example, were mainly objects, pine swags, mistletoe, and cranberries. Some historians claim it was a picture of Queen Victoria's Christmas tree, which was published in an American magazine around 1850, that began all the interest in massive decorations and the like. But no matter how this season has evolved in our society, there are some things which will remain constant throughout the years. For instance, the look of excitement and wonder which can still be found in the eyes of small children. And if we listen hard enough amidst all the hoopla, we can still hear the cry of a newborn child who lay in a manger 2,000 years ago. Scott Hatch, CBN News.
Well, we need some simplicity, ladies and gentlemen. I know if you're tapped out, as most of us are at Christmas time, we're looking at an expenditure, as I said before, $42 billion. And, Sheila, most merchants, I think, without Christmas, it'd be all over for them.
I think a lot of people, though, what Scott said in his piece about the gift-giving wasn't what was important a long time ago. It was the getting together with family. I think people are getting back to that. I think people are tired of the over-commercialization and feel like, okay, I might not get everything that everybody wants, but let's be together and let's thank the Lord for his gift.
Well, you know, I wish it were going to be that way. There was a quote, some of our background material, that George Washington, while he was president, I believe, for 3 years in a row, he said, attended church, had dinner. Attended church, had dinner. That's what he did on Christmas. He went to church and worshiped, thanked God for Jesus, and then he had dinner, period. But, you know, we have 6 grandchildren, and that means that their grandparents on both sides, all sides, there are aunts and uncles, and there are children giving presents to each other. And when you multiply that by all the combinations and they get them all together for one day, it is simply awesome. I mean, it's almost like, you know, you do it for hours and hours, open prison, then you have to take a break, and then you come back and do it some more. And it's just, I mean, you know, even if it's simple things, there's still just the quantities. And whew.
I haven't done any Christmas shopping yet. I haven't got a single jolly present.
The prices go down dramatically the longer you wait. I
know that's why you wait. I just haven't had time.
If stores are open on Sunday, which they're not, possibly Christmas morning you could go out and get
I'll be right back with something.
All right. Well, anyhow, we're in, you know, have you been to Williamsburg at Christmas?
We're going to go on Saturday and spend the day.
It's so pretty. And they have some of those more simple decorations, and it's really very, very pretty.
They're beautiful.
Lovely. But what's next?
Well, for Tim and Bonnie Ferrens, Christmas Day holds a significance that no amount of money could ever buy. You see, last Christmas, Tim ended 9 years of extramarital affairs. Here is his astounding story.
In July of 1979, Tim and Bonnie Ferrens were madly in love. Young Tim had found the girl of his dreams, young Bonnie her knight in shining armor. There were wedding bells, a quick honeymoon, and then Tim and Bonnie settled down to live the next 50 years in marital bliss.
I'd always wanted to get married, and I